But did the agent do anything wrong? Good afternoon. So I was reading a story online about a deal that went kind of bad for the sellers. In their mind, they're offended, and I wanted to go over it with you and see what you thought and see where there were problems. They were like, maybe we should report this to someone and all this other stuff. I don't really understand, so let me get to it. It says that it's just it's it. I put it together like this: it's a family member is selling the home of her deceased parents, and the seller says that the house needed work, but it was structurally sound and in a good neighborhood. The seller interviewed a couple of agents and chose one. There's a time lag between when the family members are clearing out the house and when the house gets listed. And listing agent with the house unlisted brings forward a verbal offer from another real estate agent far below what the house was worth and waiving the buyer's agency commission. This offends the sellers greatly. So I was even confused as like, what is the offense? Like, what is the offense? The offenses were that the offer was too low and that the agent who offered to buy the house is attempting to cheat the sellers. And so I wanted to get into it with you because this kind of stuff happens frequently during the process. And maybe if we go over it, you won't be stuck in a situation like these sellers where you feel like you've been, you're offended. So number one, I can understand why the sellers are offended. They think that they hired a listing agent to represent them, and it doesn't seem like the agent is doing so. It's kind of complicated, so let me break it down. I see this all the time in my business when I list homes for sale, especially those that need work. So the question is have you signed a listing agent or listing agreement with your agent? It very well could be that the answer is no, because the house isn't ready to be listed, and there may be exemption rules in your state that differ from mine. So if you haven't officially listed with the agent, they aren't working for you, and they probably are looking out for themselves. Okay. If you have listed with the agent, there are laws that require disclosure of any and all offers to the seller. It doesn't matter if the offer is too low, they still have to present it. In this case, it would be better for the listing agent to have explained that to you up front before they took the listing. So what normally happens with me is some investor, emails me and says, now this is for a listed house. They're like, hey, here's an offer. See if the buyers are interested. So then I go over to the buyers and I say, hey, here's an offer. It's really, really low. It's not based on any comps that we can see. It doesn't make any sense, but you're welcome to take the offer or not. And what they'll usually say is, why did you bother me with this? Right? They get offended. And the point is that it's not because I want to send you a low offer. It's because I'm required by law to do so. And it's like one of the things I have to do. So I think a lot of people don't believe that buyers would think that way, that they would try to insult them and sending over a low offer, but it happens all the time. So one of the things I took from this story is why do people insist on messing around with verbal offers? I've never understood why one needs to make a verbal offer. There's nothing that you can say that can't also be put in writing. In this case, what are the sellers going to agree to? A sale price and a waived commission? What are the terms for closing? What if the buyer can't close, and what's the remedy? There's so many questions, and there's no point, especially if someone else puts in an offer in writing. So say you have a nonverbal offer presented and you have a verbal offer presented. Okay. The nonverbal, the written offer has all the terms as part of the agreement. Verbal offer has price and maybe one or two terms. If they're the same price, you would 100% of the time put that offer in writing. You could also say to the verbal offer, put your offer in writing. You're not required to take it. So it's just like such an old way of thinking. I'm inferring from the story that the listing agent did indeed have some sort of an agreement with the seller because the other real estate agent made the offer to the agent. It wouldn't make sense for that offer to occur because how would the agent have known that the house was listed for sale or that the listing agent was the point of contact? So, I mean, you don't know if a house is going to be listed. You have no idea. unless there's something like you've got a listing agreement, you mentioned it in the office. Sometimes buyers do this, or sellers do this thing where they say, like, if you know anybody that's interested, make sure that you tell them. And so okay, I'll tell them. It's just part of it. And so I wanted to go over the offer that I get when I'm in this situation. So here's the offer. It's like somebody will email me and say, I'm Mr. Investor. I want to buy your client's house. If you work for me, you can have the commission. So if the deal is a 6% commission, I get all 6%. Now, there's problems with this. One, if I'm working for the investor and not telling my seller, that's a serious breach of ethics. And number two, there's a reason for commission. When a buyer is willing to waive the commission, you'd better believe that they will be trying to make that up by buying the house at a super low price. As the seller, you will pay. The word may not be commission, but it will be a payment, as in a much lower sale price for the house. So I think it's absolutely ridiculous that you would represent the buyer and the seller in an investor situation and send over a lowball offer. Like you managed to get a seller that was interested in using you as an agent, and now you do this to them. It's ridiculous. Do these sellers have a right to feel offended that someone put in a lowball offer? Yes. You have a right to feel anything you want. Was the buyer offer illegal? I'm not a lawyer and I don't give legal advice. I have no idea if it was legal or not. It just doesn't seem right. But the practice hasn't seemed right, so I've always avoided it. I mean, I see where there's this conflict, and I just don't want to be a part of it. So how could the listing agent have handled this better? As I said, I ran into this situation. I probably know 5 people right now who would buy an investment property if I called them. But when I work for a seller, I don't call them. Why? Well, the house needs to be on the open market where anyone can make an offer. That's the best thing for your client. It has to get to the market. Otherwise, you never really know what the house should sell for. Now, investors out there will say the exact opposite. They'll say, if your house is on the market, then everyone will know that it's somehow not worth that price, and you'll be left with selling it for a lower price. But that doesn't ever make any sense to me. I've never seen an offer come in for a property before it went to market that was for more than what the property originally or eventually sold for. And and most of the time, investors are just hoping you don't list a property. They want to make it seem like they're the only buyers that there are, and that's hardly ever the case, especially in such a strong market we're in right now. I'd be interested to know why you chose this particular agent to sell your home. What was it about them during your initial conversations that said this agent was the most ethical and professional choice you could have made? And when this investor issue came up, did it give you pause? Should you have terminated the agreement right then and there? To me, it depends. What was the advice of the agent when they relayed the verbal offer? Did they press you to take the offer? That would have been a red flag, and in my opinion, a reason to choose someone else. In a strange sense, though, the agent is trying to sell the property. I don't know that that's offensive, that they found someone before the house was listed. After all, we talk about these real estate agent ads that always say, I've got a list of buyers who would buy your house right now. We know that home sellers believe this. Agents wouldn't advertise it if it didn't work. Feeling disappointment, feeling confusion, feeling offended. These are common emotions during the home buying or home selling process. The only thing I know that I try to do to help is I try to explain up front all the tricks and the potential highs and lows I see when I'm working with buyers and sellers. Would I report the listing agent? I don't see what the listing agent did wrong. They presented a lowball offer as likely required. They did the right thing. If it looks like the agent put their interest above yours, I'm not sure how, given the way the situation unfolded, you could claim that. These types of things, though, annoy the general public, and it's a reason why real estate agents have a bad reputation, just a little bit higher than that of Congress. The appearance is that the buyer, who is also an agent, is trying to profit off of the seller desperation. Maybe they were, but there's also the chance that they were just trying to buy a property and knew that it would take some amount of money to repair and that the risk warranted the lower offer. We don't know. I do know that oftentimes buyers will make a low offer. There's nothing that requires the buyer make a high offer, just as there's nothing that requires the seller to take the lowest offer. So I was very intrigued by this. It's okay to feel offended, okay? But feeling offended has nothing to do with the facts. And that is, people are trying to buy your house. If someone can't take advantage of you, they will. And especially if you weren't signed with that listing agent, and they had a friend that's what they do. I mean, that's something that happens. Is it slimy? Absolutely. Do I want to have anything to do with anything like this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I know it happens. And so, that's where I draw the line, ethically. Others may think differently. Others much more successful than I. I mean, I don't sell that many homes. So it doesn't normally end up being a problem for me. But what do you think? What do you think? I'd like to know. Put a comment down below and let me know. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.